run copies. I didn't even think about it. Okay, State Convention in 24 elected Jennifer Lancaster to be chair of the convention instead of Joseph Wood. Normally, we would think the head of the Republican Party would be elected as chair. Well, in this case, it wasn't. It was embarrassment. And it was probably one of the first times that the gauntlet was thrown down, is that there are issues here. Because of the larger Trump-supporting county committees, and the CCRC is one of those. Trump supporting, wanting to do the conservative things, the things that I'll mention later. This convention voted in several items, paper ballots, closed primaries, etc. They were opposed by Wood and obviously by the RPA, or they would have supported him. I don't know how many of you remember seeing Governor Sarah and in a meeting, it was not in here, I thought it was in Washington, it might not be. At the same time, President Trump was talking to a group, and he said, we're going to get those paper ballots. Are we going to get those, Sarah? And she giggled, she said, we're working on it. Well, unfortunately, it's not being worked on. And that's been proven. Okay, this set up a conflict between the large, powerful conservative committees and the leadership. I think what is the largest of the committees? I know Craighead County is one of the largest. Saline County, which we'll get to, is one of the largest. Pulaski County. All three of these counties have had problems because they are very strict Trump supporters. To me, there's a difference between a Republican and a Trump Republican. Okay. In the summer of 25, July the 25th of 2024, the RPA nullified the rules and platform changes that had been passed in that paragraph up above at the 24 RPA State Convention. However, according to their own rules, the convention is the final authority on party matters. So they basically, no matter what the state convention had said, the RPA just nullified it. You might as well not have gone, right? Is that correct? Because see, I didn't go. Right. Now, in 2024, a complaint was filed with the RPA Chair Wood against the Saline County 2nd District Chair. Saline is one of the larger counties. This complaint was signed by multiple members. Ironically, the charges were eerily similar to the ones filed against the duly elected officers of the CCRC. And I read those, and if I were to bring all of the papers and read everything, we'd be here till next Tuesday. And Golden Corral assures me they don't want that. So I have the documentation for anything I say. So where are we? We are at Saline County, who's had a complaint filed against them. The results of the decision of the RPA SEC against Saline County Republican Committee was to vote to ban the 2nd District Chair from membership from any position in the Republican Party of Arkansas for 20 years. She was also banned from holding any office or membership in any other Republican-affiliated organization. Essentially, they banished her to another country. Okay, after the sanctions against 2nd District Chair, the RPA declared the Saline County Republican Committee vacant for 2 years. They just dissolved them, essentially. And ruled that the officers of the SCRC couldn't run for any position when the SCRC is reconstituted. That's harsh.
Yeah. They want to change totally, you know.
Yeah. So that's the step before the Craighead County situation. That leads up to us. It says one large conservative committee down. At least 2 more to go. If the RPA wants to get rid of all those conservative Trump-supporting counties under control. So we've got Saline County down. We've essentially shut down a lot of the CCRC, Craighead County, because we all went through the election the other day, which, you know, wasn't too bad, but we've had a real leader in this, and so it's bound to make some differences, especially among members who may not want to take a chance on being shut down for 2 years. Okay, now to the Craighead County Republican Committee. These were facts that were interesting to me. Barry Eggers, want to stand up, Barry, and wave at people? Has been the longest serving chairman since 2020. From 2020 to 2025, there were 7 interim or elected chairs during this time. 7. They went one after the other after the other. That's usually an indication there's some issue. Barry Eggers in the last year has raised more money than any other committee in the state, $83,000. Excellent. He added more new members in that span of time than any other chair of the CCRC.
Yep, that's another.
So, as a chair, he thought outside the box to add new activities to raise money. The Trump store, a gun and knife show, a bake sale. You know, he didn't just go with the common, oh, we'll have a dinner here, we'll have a little, get together there. He went outside the box, and the Trump store was unbelievable. I think it alone raised $50,000. Wasn't it around 50,000? 60,000. Because at that time, of course, we were running up to an election, and everybody was really hopeful that Trump would win. And, it was just gangbusters. They showed more, stuff out of that store than you could have put in a ton of trucks. Okay. In anybody's estimation, Barry has been very successful as a chair. He received several standing ovations at the latest district meeting when his accomplishments were mentioned, because they were just amazing. And my last sentence up here, could all of his accomplishments have been a particular problem for some people because he's obviously leadership material? Okay, I'm going to have to sit down and read this one. Now we get to the complaint filed by the people, a group within the CCRC. This complaint against 4 officers, 1 non-officers, not including the 2 that would be named later, and 2 that were highlighted as apparent troublemakers. You don't want to be called a troublemaker. I've been called a troublemaker all my life, and look where it led me to, Good for you. Okay, this illustrated those who have created division within the CCRC and those who have been used by the RPA to weaken and almost destroy a very strong MAGA committee. I'll have to sit down and read this next part. So I know you probably can't read it, and I'm sorry, there's just so much you can get on pages. This came from the group that filed the complaint. This came from the complaint. Due to the egregious and willful actions of some members of the Craighead County Executive Committee and others within the committee, we seek as remedy for these violations the voiding of the election results of January 28th, 2025, the removal of Chairman Barry Eggers, First Vice Chair Steve Floyd, Second Vice Chair Linda Allison, Secretary Robin Martin, and Donna Eggers from leadership positions within the Craighead County Republican Committee for life. That's what they were asking for. And dismissal from the committee and the RPA for a period of time deemed appropriate by the committee. Due to this dysfunction and division within the Craighead County Republican Committee, we would appreciate any other action the RPA Review Committee feels are appropriate and just. Respectfully submitted. Okay. This continues that. Chairman Wood, in the request for review dated January 31st, 2025 from Craighead County Republican Committee, we would like to attach this amendment. It contains no new complaint or allegations of rules, but instead it is an additional specific request for relief of the complainants to clarify the original request for review. That by itself is a sentence like that. I was an English teacher. Specifically, in the original request, Lori Justice and Delton Dunn were charged by name with violation of RPA rules. However, no specific request for relief was named for these 2 individuals. I hereby request that in addition to Barry Eggers, Steve Floyd, Linda Allison, Robin Martin, and Donna Eggers, that Lori Justice and Delton Dunn also be removed from positions of leadership in any county committee for life and be dismissed from the committee and the RPA for a period of time deemed appropriate by the RPA Executive Committee. In addition, the original complaint named Barry Eggers, Steve Lloyd, Linda Allison, Robin Martin, Delton Dunn, and Lori Justice specifically. In addition, the original request included the term "and others" to be considered as violating the rules of the RPA. We would like the committee to consider similar relief on any individual specifically highlighted in the evidence section of the original request, or review that the executive committee may find needs to rise to the level of meriting relief for the complainants. I would fail a student that had written that paragraph. They're going after anybody. They were going after anybody that had irritated them, essentially. That's what that means. Oh, we mentioned these. We didn't mention this over here. We didn't mention this person over here, and we didn't like him either. So that's what they did. And notice what they want to be done to them. Banned for life, from the Republican Party. So in every other county that I know of, in every other state in this country, people are begging to get Republicans in. Craighead County has a group trying to get them out. Yes. Throw them out.
Yep.
And the kind of people they're throwing out are the ones who raise a lot of money and get in a lot of members. Makes a lot of sense, right? And work hard. Okay, this is a list of the people that thought the CCRC officers and others were doing such a bad job that they needed to be tossed out. Probably can't read a lot of that. I felt it was important not to just, I felt this page was important because it showed the actual signatory. It didn't just list the names. Now, I listed the names where you could read them. Start out with Tim Loggins, and I'm not going to read all of these because I'm going to read the next page or two. These were how it ended up. Now, who exactly is this complaint against? The duly elected officers. Janice Porter, Jonesboro City Council, lost chairman's race to Barry Egger, 63-49. Revel Porter, Janice's husband. Tim Loggins lost first chairman's race to Steve Floyd, 63-33. Lost a chairman last year to Barry. I didn't get those numbers. Lisa Loggins, realtor, Tim Loggins' wife. Ann Ledgerwood lost second vice chairman's race to Linda Allison, 63-33.
Excuse me.
David Ledgerwood, Ann Ledgerwood's husband. Bradley Ledgerwood, Ann Ledgerwood's son. Jeanette Robertson lost election commissioner position 1 race to Andrea Hoke, 51-33. Nancy Best, Jeanette Robertson lost election commissioner position 2 race to Paul House, 29. Excuse me. Andrew Strickland. Marvin Day, county judge. Christy McKeel, realtor. Richard Rogers, justice of the peace and school board member, 2 elected offices. Jerry Halsey, real estate commission. David Tennyson, justice of the peace. Gary Harpole, realtor. Josh Longmire, justice of the peace. Kathy Humphrey, realtor. Kevin Williams, justice of the peace. Kevin Williams. Kevin Humphrey. Steve Klein, justice of the peace. Daniel Schoen, realtor. Jenny Chrysler, county employee. Landon Wilson, Wendy Pinnell, Sarah Baldwin, Jason Pinnell, Alec Farmer, Vicki Strickland, Jerry Strickland, Bill Hendricks, Chad Neal, Audra House, Sarah Lampkin. Those were the people that lost the race. Now I'm going to go back up here for just a minute. Can anybody see a pattern in some of these names why they might have signed on to this complaint? What would that pattern be?
Family and friends. Jealousy.
They lost a race.
Lost elections.
That's why I listed the group that lost at first. Goes all the way from Janice Porter down to Jeanette Robertson twice. And it shows what they lost and the number they lost by. I think that has to be an issue.
They don't like the majority rule.
Don't like majority rule. Well, apparently if you lose a race by 2/3, I guess you don't. And then you pressure. Yeah, I guess that might be an issue.
I think everybody ought to be quoted.
Okay, now we're going to do the complaint. I tried listing everything on my PowerPoint, but as I said before, we're going to be here 2 or 3 days, and so I didn't think that was a good idea. So this is kind of a shortened form. Now I included all of the information in the answers, but partial information in the complaint. Okay, this first one was it was minutes of the CCR meetings where candidates were awarded different amounts of money for similar races, because there was an awful lot made out of that. If you'll notice here, These are the amounts donated each candidate that had an opponent in the general election. District 8, $750, these are JPs. District 4, $750. District 7, $750, that was to Richard Rogers. District 5, $750. District 9, $250. We talked to this JP and he was not worried about his race and said he would let us know if he needed anything. District 1, JP, $250. He doesn't come to the meetings. We tried to reach him and left voicemails and he never returned our calls, would not even bring signs to the headquarters. Okay, Dan Sullivan was contacted and said he did not need money. Jack Ladyman, they gave $3,300 to. John Thurston, $500 to. Johnny Rye, who's out of county, $750. Fran Kavanaugh, $750, she's out of county. Jeremy Terrell from Mayor got $2,000. Rural America Counts, $1,000. Options Pregnancy got $390, that was proceeds from the bake sale. Every single Republican candidate won except for Jeremy. And there's a reason for that. That's a shame. Okay, did anybody see a problem with those donations?
Nope. I don't.
No, they were basically all the same for the same type of position. I thought the complaint was that people gave different amounts of money for different positions. Was that what the complaint was? Okay, this next one, number 2, is statement alleging coercion by Donna Eggers against a candidate for office. If that candidate did not vote as directed, support in the upcoming election would be withheld. This simply did not happen. To my knowledge, no one has even said that they are running for office at this time. At the worst, this would simply be one person's word against another's. Even when they said, you know, basically, I think in the original telling it was something like whispered in her ear or something. That's not a complaint, because that is only one person's word against another person's word, unless it can be documented. Okay, Article 1, Section 8 violations. Record of a special meeting. Starting the special meeting was for the sole purpose of increasing support for candidates in the upcoming general election and voting to endorse in a nonpartisan election for mayor when 2 candidates were claiming to be Republicans. Good heavens, we had a meeting. Okay, this meeting was called, these are the answers, in blue there's the answers. This meeting was called to help our Republican candidates in any way we could. Is that my phone?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys. I got turned off.